Hey everyone, Chris and Tegan here for our Friday video. Now, Tegan's still teething, so she's being a little moody. She's being good right now. She's playing with my phone case at the moment, so she's somewhat content, aren't you? So I don't really have any content of her specifically. I'm probably going to hold off on that for a while just because she's a little unpredictable with the camera. Kind of unpredictable with her mood overall. You can see she's trying to talk. Still no words. But, I found that I was a late talker. I don't think I really even talked till about kindergarten or first grade. But I excelled when it came to physical abilities, like being able to balance, run, stuff like that, from a young age. And that's pretty much where she's at. She's extremely well coordinated. Up and down stairs for a while now. She's been able to run up and down hill. Our pediatrician said it's not too much to worry about, but she would like to have her know a couple words. So we're looking into possible speech therapy for that. So anyways, last video we talked about what is hard money. Today we're going to talk more about why hard money and what the advantages are and kind of some of the disadvantages. So to start with that, the reason why hard money can be advantageous for you, especially if you're starting out, is they don't really look for credit. They look at the asset, or basically the property, as opposed to you. And they tend to loan on the after repair value as opposed to just the purchase price. Which, if you're a flipper or you're a BRRRR investor, that means you could basically get more money to fund your project. Conventional loans, they tend to loan on the purchase price, and a lot of conventional loans won't lend on a property that's heavily damaged. There are certain construction loans you can get. I believe you have to live in the property for a year. I know you at least have to live in the property. You're basically buying it as your personal residence. But there's ways you can house hack that. You can rent by the room. By the way, house hacking and renting by the room is an amazing strategy. I highly recommend checking out Bigger Pockets podcast 392. Basically, they interview a guy in the Seattle area, him and his wife. Basically, buy a house, they rent it out by the rooms. He's only got 6 houses, and they're pulling in $12,500 a month after their expenses. So they pay for maid service. They're paying their mortgage, property taxes, and even here in Seattle, they're cash flowing $12,500. So it's pretty impressive. If you're young or you don't have kids, highly recommend taking advantage of that strategy. That's what we would like to do, but we're gonna have to do it more of the small multifamily style. So basically buy, say, a duplex, live in one unit, rent out the other. But if you're young and you don't have screaming kids, look at buy the room. Depending on your area, works well for Seattle since we're kind of overpriced and a lot of kind of the tech people are just looking for basically a place to live just to pay down their loans, essentially student loans. So check out that podcast for more information on that. So back to the topic at hand, hard money versus conventional. So let's say you found a property, it's $100,000, and let's say the ARV is $150,000. So if it's a conventional loan, you're going to get a smaller interest rate, probably around that 3 to 4% interest rate. I know rates are 2.75 or something like that right now, but that doesn't mean the bank goes that low. Banks need to make their money too, so they tend to be a little bit over what the minimum is. Whereas a hard money loan, you're looking, I think we're paying 10% on our current one. We're looking at paying 13% on our next one, but we're also only keeping it for 6 months, and it is interest only. So when it's amortized, as we talked about last time, you're paying down the mortgage or basically the principal, and you're paying the interest. Whereas if it's interest only, you're literally just paying the interest. If you're looking at long term, that's not going to work out well because obviously you're not paying down your mortgage. But when it comes to a short-term investor or a short-term moving into a long-term, like the BRRRR strategy, that can be a really good resource to use for that. So back to our example, let's say you use a conventional loan to purchase a property that's $100,000, but the ARV is $150,000. Again, ARV after repair value. So if the conventional loan will only lend you up to 80% on that, I mean, you're looking at getting $80,000. You got $20,000 that you need to come up with, plus if there's any sort of rehab or what some people call prehab, you know, that's just doing quick paint, Max Boy, and small items like that. You're looking at more than $20,000. Whereas with hard money, let's say the ARV is $150,000, they're gonna lend you anywhere between 70 and 80% of the ARV. So my current one's gonna be 70% of $150,000. It's gonna be a lot more than $80,000 plus. They're also gonna reimburse me on the rehab itself. So right out of the gate, I'm gonna be spending less money to make money in a sense, and to also get a long-term rental, long-term, since I'm doing the BRRRR strategy with this one. Works really well for flippers too. I want to get more into the flip strategy. The only downside is you got to pay a lot more in taxes. When you're talking about rentals and whatnot, you don't really pay too much in taxes, and when you refi, you don't pay any taxes on the refinance, which is why I like the BRRRR strategy. Whereas, you know, you're going to pay capital gain taxes with a flip, which that could be around 35% of what you're taking in. So let's say you make $100,000 on a flip, you're only keeping maybe about $65,000 of that, which, I mean, $65,000 for 6 months of work, that's a pretty good deal, or even less. Some flippers can get it down in 2 to 3 months. Really depends on your area. So that's why I want to do that for building capital real quick. Back to hard money. So the main reason why I use hard money right now instead of, I'm moving into private money, but the main reason why I'm using hard money is, as kind of a newer investor, it kind of gives me more of that chance to build up my credibility. Like, I don't want to just, you know, find someone to partner with and say, hey, I can make you all this money, and then totally bomb because I haven't actually had the practice of doing these strategies yet. Come here, baby girl. Oh, I want to go in the box. Her favorite thing's been going in this box lately. So, as I build up that credibility, I'll have more confidence moving into private money. In case you're on my Facebook page, I am doing the 30-day to 500K challenge, where I'm basically raising funds to further invest in my real estate business. So if you want more information on that, just on partnering in general, feel free to send me a message. But as I build up that confidence, that's where I'm going to be able to sit down with people and say, hey, you know, this is what we can look at. Here's how you're going to benefit. Here's how I'm going to benefit. And here's my track record. So the main thing is building up that track record, which is real important for newer investors. You'll hear all these gurus say, oh yeah, it's all about using other people's money. But I mean, if it's your first deal, good luck. Good luck. Unless you know somebody who's very confident in you. So for me personally, hard money was a real easy choice. Again, I'm paying a bit more for it, but that's okay. I'd rather pay more up front if it means success later on. So definitely don't shy away from hard money. Other benefits to hard money is, again, that they don't look at credit, whereas conventional, they will look at credit. My wife has phenomenal credit. I have okay credit, like 670 range or so. Another thing they're gonna look at is your debt to income ratio if you're looking at a conventional loan. And that's what's really kind of bogged us down is, you know, we're paying down some of our debts still. So we got this nice little 6-month period where we're going to be able to kind of fix our, what they call DTI, debt to income ratio. So when we go to refinance to a conventional loan, we're going to look better on paper. So that's basically why hard money. A bit more convenient. It can be cheaper if you're looking at the short term versus the long term. In long term, hard money is definitely not really going to be worth it. I think the lowest I've seen for, like, first off, hard money rarely does long term, 30 years. The lowest I've seen for that has been like 8%, which that's pretty high. That's been recent too. I want to say I was quoted that maybe about 2 weeks ago. So I wouldn't really go that route unless I had to. Basically, with what they call Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you can have up to about 10 loans that are government backed before you have to get more creative with your financing. Now that's 10 loans per person. That's why right now we're putting all of our properties in my wife's name and her LLC while I build up credit, she's building up the portfolio. Then when we're ready to move to our next 10 under my name, we'll be in a way better financial circumstance on that. So, a little bit tidbit of information for other things, but hard money is definitely something you should look into as a newer investor. And even as a more experienced investor, I was just talking to my investor friend the other day. He was telling me about how his private money funds have all kind of dried up. And he's basically had to look at hard money again. It's been a while for him, so he's checking out rates and whatnot. So hard money is definitely something that should always be in your arsenal, or what they call your toolkit. So thanks for joining me. As always, Sawadee Cup.